the Vikings make the decision to hand the ball to Kyler Murray, the guy they brought in through free agency this year, the former #1 overall pick of the Arizona Cardinals. And they haven't even played a preseason game yet. And if you follow Vikings media and you follow the guys that cover the team that are there every single day, I mean, all of them were making it seem like J.J. McCarthy was beating Kyler Murray kind of bad so far when it came to training camp. So were you guys shocked by this, by the timing of this? Not so much the decision to go with Kyler, but the timing that they made this move and this decision to announce who the starting quarterback would be?
I'm not shocked at all. I mean, I when they signed Kyler Murray, and Bailey's my co-host on 0 to 60, and I told him that day, I guarantee you this kid starts. JJ's not ready. He doesn't really like him. Otherwise, you don't really make this move. You don't draft a quarterback that high and then bring in a veteran that has all the starting experience. It's actually not very – he's not terrible when he's on. Now, he's got to study and get off the video games and all that shit, but he is the starter now, and he's got a plethora of weapons and a great offense and a good offensive line and a good running game and a good head coach and a damn good defense, and they're playing inside. And I think this could be a resurrection year for Kyler Murray. I'm not shocked about this at all. I called it right when they signed him, and it's happening faster than I anticipated. I'm just going to say this, and I'm sure Sean will reiterate and agree, but there's a massive development problem in the National Football League. Like, if you're not ready to play when you get to the league, good luck, bro. Good luck finding a job and keeping the job and being able to develop and show that you can play. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield had to go a real long road to get comfortable, and Baker's still not comfortable. So so many of these young quarterbacks, I don't know if they can play or if they can't, but there's no patience in the NFL anymore, and you better be able to do it when you walk in.
Yeah, this thing's on this show, and agreeing with Matt, I told you the second he got there that it was his job to lose.
Mm-hmm. Right.
His job.
Kyler Murray's. It also goes back even further. The general manager who was fired in the offseason, it goes to show you that, in my opinion, judging from that, he shoved J.J. McCarthy down the Vikings' throat, and Kevin O'Connell wasn't ready to start him. Because Kevin O'Connell's a smart football guy. He's been around as a player. He was in the league for a few minutes. As a coach, he's been around really good quarterbacks. He's developed really good ones. You don't just let a guy like Sam Darnold walk and do what he's doing and not be able to see his presence. And they did. Let me tell you how this starts. First off, the J.J. McCarthy, I wouldn't quit on him if I was a Vikings fan. It's still early. Injuries have become a problem. He was not ready to play. They shoved it down his throat because they got rid of Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, two guys now above that are in the 40 to 50 that are starters on teams that are playoff teams. One's got a Super Bowl ring. There's no way Kevin O'Connell did not see that they could play. So whatever was happening in the front office, and now you bring in Kyler Murray. Injuries have slowed down and obviously been a problem for J.J. McCarthy, which is a problem for a lot of people in the league. If you can't be on the field or you lose availability, it's Kyler's to lose. I don't know if Kyler can keep it. Dedication. Will he realize that he was forced out of Arizona? He didn't just leave because he wanted to leave. He was forced out because they didn't play. So it's a situation. What I find curious is that we haven't had one game, but I've always said this. Jobs are not won by one preseason game. They're won on the practice field 2-a-days every single day, or even when you don't have 2-a-days like we do in the NFL, of the consistency in the film room, being able to process information and go practice well. The validation is just go out there and do well in the games. But I'll tell you this, if you watch a guy kick ass at any position during training camp and then have a few average games in the preseason, he's still going to make the team and still have a chance to play. The other is true. If he's shitty all day on the practice field and is an average practice player, he's not going to get to play much on the field. It's just going to be a foregone conclusion. I'm just telling you, every day in my career, you had to win it on the practice field, preseason games, and we've lessened them. We don't play a lot of starters. So coaches aren't looking at it saying, the 2s are playing against the 3s or the 1s are playing against the 2s. Man, if this guy has a great – they know this. They're not stupid. We do have a development problem, but we also have a scouting problem in this league. You want to go down? We all talk about all this: Mac Jones, J.J. McCarthy. Look, go through the coaches they've had. Maybe Sam's Justin Fields. Mac Jones.
Right.
I mean, they've had good coaches. Sam Darnold was coached by Kevin O'Connell. He's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good. But go around the guys that we have considered. What's that list that I just saw this morning of some of the list of some of the fans? Fields, Mac Jones. I mean, you start to go down the list. Please don't tell me that some of these guys can't coach. You're telling me that you go out now. There's some that have gotten away and slowed down process of a player being good. But we do have a development problem because I can tell you this. I was in the league 10 years. I can't remember 15 minutes of mechanical coaching during the season, being not robotic, but mechanics. That's done in the offseason. The only time they start to worry about mechanics is what? When you start to suck. And I got news for you. When pressure rises and you want to throw up in your fucking mouth, then and your mechanics fold, your game folds. That's why the great ones, Breeze, Brady, Moon, whoever, Montana, their mechanics were dialed in the most stressful of situations.
Yeah, they got better.
And when you draft a guy in the first round, we're not waiting for you 3 years, dude. Anthony Richardson's another one.
Boy, that kid's a mess.
His head coach ain't half bad in Indianapolis. He's got a decent idea.
Yeah.
You're damn right. So it's twofold. When they get there, they expect to play. And I don't have a problem. If the rookie's playing as good as a veteran, play the rookie. The problem is, in J.J. McCarthy's case, you forced him into a lineup he was not ready to play, and you got rid of two guys that are now starters in the league, in Jones and Sam Darnold, and you got rid of him. He didn't have to compete for the job. They handed it to him after a rookie year, which he didn't play a fucking snap.
Yeah.
So tell me where the problem is. So development, yes. Mechanics, go hire your private coach. They're not working on mechanics. They're working on game plans and getting ready for the next week during the season. And if your mechanics aren't good and they break down, then you're shit out of luck.
Yeah, and I think there's
coaches. And one last thing real quick, Matty, is they also go back and look at these quarterbacks that we consider the development. Are we sure that they should have been drafted where they were drafted? Are we sure Mac Jones, who's done a good job rejuvenating his career, are you sure Mac Jones should have been drafted where he was drafted? Are we sure Justin Fields, and I can damn well tell you that the kid from that's in Dallas, from the 49ers, Trey Lance, had no business being in a top 5 pick in this league. So we read social media that Zach Wilson had a great pro day and a decent career at BYU, nothing that was earth-shattering, and makes a pro day. The verbiage and the optics were so great, blatant. You just said, well, the guy's so gifted, and he is. Put him in 7-on-7, the guy's a fucking magical. Stick him in 11-on-11, he's yanking balls to the ground. Doesn't mean he's not talented. Talented doesn't mean you're ready to play. Not everybody's Jaden Daniels or C.J. Stroud as rookies or John. They're just not. So it's not only a development problem once they get in. And the expectations we place on quarterbacks, first-round quarterbacks in particular, they're so outrageously ridiculous expectations we place on quarterbacks. We expected J.J. McCarthy to come in and set the world on fire. If he was average, it's just not good enough for any of us. They're ridiculous expectations because a few are just built different. But so expectations coming in. But are we sure that Mac Jones should have been a first-round pick? Are we sure Justin Fields should have been picked where he is? Ability, I'm not talking about ability. I'm talking about ready to play. Are we really sure that Anthony Richardson was a first-round draft pick at quarterback? Sean, the physical skill set. I got news for everybody out there. And no offense to anybody out there. I'm an expert at the quarterback position. I may not have been an expert at playing it, but I'm an expert at coaching it, teaching it, understanding it, and evaluating it. I can tell you this. Just because you're talented doesn't mean you're a gifted player. Doesn't mean there's plenty of guys that had far less gifts than some of these guys that we would consider busts that are now really good players, because the quarterback position goes far deeper than throwing it from point A to point B. Shorts and a T-shirt in your frat league looks great. So, and I'm not saying it's the case for all of them. Our expectations are ridiculous. Kyler Murray, and it's odd. They haven't played a game. He was given the job. They also wanted to define who the leader is supposed to be. They didn't want to wait till the end of camp. They wanted to get rid of that so they could focus on football, whether he can keep it or not. So all these things come into play. I wouldn't quit on J.J. McCarthy, and I wouldn't say that Kyler Murray is going to be in the Pro Bowl. Although his gifts are through the roof, the question is, will he apply the gifts to being a quarterback, not just a great athlete that can go around? Once in a while, when that guy's good, he is off the charts. I told you, Segs, years ago, he should have been the first pick of the draft. before he came out. I would have got rid of Rosen too. But I think that there's been some sort of, well, I'm in time, Kyler Murray. Because the game has that. If I ask you this, is Kyler Murray a bust as the first pick of the draft, or is he a successful quarterback in the NFL today, right now? You'd say he sits in the middle, right?
I don't think he's a bust yet.
I don't either. That's my point. But some will, because he didn't work out. They didn't go to a Super Bowl. Some, and his study habits, hopefully he's changed. Kyler Murray's, unless J.J. McCarthy stood out, I get why they gave it to Kyler Murray. And I think if he reaches his potential, you're looking at something special. And he's got players, as Matt said. But I can tell you this, not a bust, but the expectations placed on him, and some players place on themselves. I'm coming in to tear the league apart. But I get why they did it. It's either that J.J. McCarthy, contradictory to what supposedly has been talked about his performance on the practice field, that Kyler Murray got the job without even one preseason game. So that also validates what I'm telling you. The practice field either wins jobs or they knew going in, unless J.J. McCarthy was so spectacular, Matt, that Kyler Murray was winning this job. It was his to lose, and it still is.
And look, I think that when I say developmental, it goes to the individual. In the information age that we live in, ignorance is a choice. So it starts in high school and college. And look, I can't teach a quarterback how to drop, how to throw, any of that shit. But I can damn sure teach them protections and defenses and how to read defense and how to talk football and how to articulate and communicate and be responsible for their own protection and squeeze gaps and hot routes and mugs and pops and all this other bullshit that you have to know in order to dictate to the defense the way that the quarterback should be able to in today's game. The elite ones see it and can articulate it to their teammates in a way that the other guys just can't do. And I think that that's taught. Now, it's an ego thing too. I can't tell you how many young quarterbacks. I'll use an example. Joe Capra is going to probably win the Harlan Hill this year. Harlan Hill, the D2 high school. He plays at Mines, Colorado Mines out here. He's a quarterback. He played at Denver South. He is a stud, absolute stud, smartest kid I've ever been around. And you can tell on the field, he's just dissecting everything. And he's going to be a Division I quarterback in the transfer portal. After 3 years at Mines, he's already got his degree. So when you got a guy like that who has no ego and goes, look, I just need to get better, and throwing on a field in a T-shirt is one thing, but actually being able to study film and actually get something out of it, not just watch film. Some guys just watch tape. They don't know what they're watching. They're not taking notes. They're just wasting time. Most guys and everybody that I try and work with, we study. And I'm trying to push them mentally and stack days so we can build concepts and talk about things that they're actually going to need to know. And I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of quarterback coaches and a lot of in outside of the framework of just in the NFL that are really, really focusing on everything instead of just the 7-on-7 route tree and what the quarterback has to do. So I personally think that the quarterbacks that want to know everything, there's ways to go out there and obtain that knowledge and apply it. But if you're a player or a coach and you're waiting around for somebody to do it for you, you're going to be left behind. You have to go do this on your own these days. There's absolutely no excuse for Anthony Richardson to be that far behind mentally and physically. It's not on the Colts. It's on the player. I'm sorry, it's on the player, bro. Get your shit together, study, and figure this out. Learn how to read a defense. It's called progression. You're far from the first one to struggle with it, but damn, it sure seems like that kid just quit. I mean, half of these quarterbacks, I feel like they really mail it in quick, and they're like, well, I guess I'm regulated to be a backup, and that's also a difference. I know, Sean, even though you did back up, you also started a ton, and you always wanted to start. You were never in a position where you're like, oh, I'm content being the number 2. I guess we'll just hold the clipboard today. No, you wanted the fucking ball. I think a lot of these first-round quarterbacks, I think they get their opportunity. It doesn't work, and Mac Jones is like, I get to be a backup for 10 more years. Anthony Richardson's like, I get to go, be a backup and make millions. And there's no point for them to go out and try and chase it. If they're just average enough, their draft status will keep them in the league for 8 or 10 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, and Maddie's right. It falls upon the player. If you're not going to work on mechanics during the season with a coach, then you better grind on your own. When you're in the back trying to win a job, you just have to.
Figure it out.
Listen, while you're in the club or somebody's in a bar going to a restaurant 11 o'clock at night, Peyton Manning's watching tape at 10:30 at night, understanding the big game. Listen, if I took those quarterbacks we just named and I took them out on the field and said, just drop back and throw, Anthony Richardson's going to shine, dude. Maybe not on the actors, but you're going to look at him, you're going to say, this is a beast. Hence why the quarterback position is not just judged by that. And I can tell you this, the mental eliminates the quarterbacks far quicker than the physical does.
100%.
Because Justin Fields this doesn't mean that they're dumb. This means that they don't know how to focus. And Matt hits something that's not talked about enough. Do you have any players that I go in that I've watched tape with at all levels that they're looking at the opposite quarterback that they'll go in there, for instance, let's say you're playing Dan Marino's team. We're getting ready to play the Dolphins. And Elway's the quarterback on the cut-ups we're watching against the Dolphins defense. You know what a lot of guys do? Watch Elway. I got caught early in my career saying, damn, I want to see how he does it. Time and a place for that, not during game plan. Do that in your offseason. Go watch John's movement and how he commands an offense or how Marino gets the ball out quicker. So they don't know how to watch tape. I've told you this before, Segs. A guy who was drafted in the first couple rounds of this draft that is a good friend of mine in the NFL, played a long time. He said he was 5 years into his league before somebody taught him how to read coverage. And we're not doing him a service. Now, winning high school championships, we're not doing him a service even at the high school level. Why? Everybody snaps their head over. They say, read this guy. They're playing half-field football sometimes. They take out, we're doing this. I trained quarterback last night till 8 o'clock at night, going through it. And he's a good player, live arm, smart kid. But and the coaches are good. It's not that high school coaches aren't good coaches. But we've taken just like we've done in society, we don't let them go through adversity. And I always say this to quarterbacks, if you can't run a game by yourself, I don't know how successful it'll be, but if you can't call plays and formations by yourself at the end of the week because your coach is sick, then you don't know enough mentally to get it done. And if Matt hit protections, if a quarterback doesn't know his protections, how can he know anything else? Who's the block? How am I? Is it secure? That's why when I tell quarterbacks to know all 22, I'm not fucking joking. I said everybody, when you get to a certain point, can throw it, can make every throw, some a little faster than others, but it's the decision-making, throw on time, accuracy, and understanding how to keep you out of bad plays and find a way to keep you and make some good plays out of shit. That's what the great ones do. And then they make the simple play all the time. And the only way you can make the simple play all the time is knowing who to get and how to get him and where. If the right guard back in the day when we had dual reads, if the one guy comes and the other guy doesn't, or they both come, then the hot's on you, dude. That's on the QB. And you better know that. Right. And the old school dual read where a guard's coming out to block a slot. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to they would block the tackle.
Center was dual read.
Yep.
Yes. And with these athletes nowadays, talk about putting a lineman in a bind. There's no shot. But as a quarterback, you got to know who that guy is that you can't block. So we do them a disservice. Not every high school coach, not every college coach, not every NFL coach. It's on the player. But also, we're not teaching them to know football. It's similar. You're teaching them for a game like a math test that none of us wanted to take. You learned it to pass the class. You didn't learn it to know math. If you get my point. If you're not going to be an accountant, you didn't care. So it's the development, everything, and it starts at a younger age. Players got to be accountable, but also that I can't emphasize enough. And every player that I've ever coached comes back and says, Coach, when they go to college, they come back and say, sure, Matty, you face the same thing. I wasn't mentally ready like I should have been. I encourage them every fall. And I'm telling you, they think that as you know it on the field, you're good. And then they come back after 2 bad games in a row and say, yeah, Coach, they played a coverage I didn't see. I say, well, how much film did we watch when I asked you to get it doesn't always have to be a session on the field. Let's do film. And it catches, even at the high school level, it catches up to you. If you don't know who to get and how to get them, eventually you are going to get found out as a quarterback. You just
Amen to that. And look, in the film room, there's a huge difference between just watching and studying. I had a 5 a.m. group this morning with about 10 guys, and they were all checked out. They were just there. It was just attendance, and I chewed their ass. And this is not why we're here, guys. You can just stay in bed if this is the way you want to show up.
I'm not coaching average, Matty. I'm not coaching shy.
Yeah, I'm not here to hold your hand and like you're 6'7", 300 pounds, and 16 years old. You're going to be a junior. You got the world by the nuts. I shouldn't have to motivate you, bro. I should be holding you back, not telling you to speed up. So that's one problem. Another, look, I coach on an 8th grade team, and my son is a tight end for him, and my youngest. And I'm at odds with the coaching staff already because I want to teach first. And like, I really think that we're good because we're really good and we have great players and we're just bigger and stronger and better than everybody else. But, you know, we were in meetings the other day and like super diligent me, I walk in and I draw the entire personnel chart and all the fronts and all the adjustments and different formations and all this shit. They don't really need to know, but they do in order for me to teach them anything and be able to talk football with them so we can talk on the field. I have to teach them the terminology and what we want in the meeting room. And the coach walks in, and he was a kicker in college. That should tell you all you need to know. He walks in and he just erases everything. He's like, that's not how we do stuff. And he draws up 11 circles and 11 X's and starts talking scheme. And I just go in the back of the room and start pulling my hair out. And I'm like, I'm going nuts here, bro. This is crazy. My son, Nick, is standing next to me, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Is he serious with this? I'm like, yep. So he gets done talking, and he's like, all right, hit the field. And I'm like, hold on, coach. Guys, what personnel is that? And they're like, 11 guys on the field. And I'm like, okay, what front is that? And it's just X's all over the place. And I don't know, it's a defensive front. And I'm
you
like,
can't
okay.
even label the players on defense.
Exactly. And I'm like, look, coach, they don't know what they're doing, but we're out here and I'm hearing a bunch of rah-rah, kumbaya bullshit. And I want to take an hour and a half and teach. And then we'll go out to practice for an hour and a half. We're here for 3 hours. We got to teach this. They need to have playbooks. They need to take notes. They need to be diligent in their study habits. We need to teach them how to do things correctly. So again, it's on the player, but at the same time, coaches who know the difference and still don't do anything about it, they're complicit in the problem. The kids don't know the difference. They need to learn, right? The older you get, the more you should know. You need to figure it out on your own if you don't. And there's people that will help you out there in the world. You just got to find them.
How many high school coaches?
An 8th grade kid, the coaches that won't teach fronts and personnel groupings and shit. And like last night I had to leave practice early because I was about to literally dig a hole and jump in it on the field. Then we went out to do punt, and they put 6 offensive linemen on the punt team. And I'm like,
they're begging
you
for
can't put
touchdown.
offensive linemen on the front line punt team, bro. They're going to get cheap shot. They can't tackle in open space. They're all fat and slow. What are we doing? And he's like, oh, that's a good point. And I'm like, what are we talking about? So it becomes more of an ego trip for guys rather than just, I don't know what to do here. Let's lean on a guy who does, and then I can teach everybody, and we can move forward.
We're there to enhance, man. That's all.
I'm just trying to
enhance. Right.
I got to console an adult, Sean. I got to console a 50-year-old man and make him feel I got to make him feel good about himself when I say, I'm sorry, coach, but you don't know what you're doing here. Let me take over and teach the kids. It's not like, that's a great idea. You should teach the kids. It's, what do you mean I don't know? I was a kicker in 1986, and I know every rubber, and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, which bothers me is that how many times you've been side-eyed by a coach. You're just trying. Listen, when I'm on the field training a quarterback, when I'm on the field with a quarterback, I always say we're going to use your verbiage and teach your system, but the mechanics aren't going to change. Good mechanics are good mechanics on offensive line, at wide receiver. The verbiage may change, the depth you run your route at, how coach calls it, but I'm not going to teach something that wouldn't enhance your game or enhance the coach to get a new contract. And then a coach will kind of look at you like you're trying to take. I said, listen, man, I'm not on the field. I'm not coaching. I'm trying to make them better. So when they come to you, they're mechanically sound and they understand how to read coverage. Even if you don't let them read coverage or check out of a play, they're still ahead of the curve because, well, they know where that guy's supposed to be. So it'll help them make decisions. And they'll look at you.
And they're going to go play after high school.
Right. Right. And
this is bigger than just knowing what you're doing in high school. Like the knowledge is expanding.
It travels.
High school, that's it.
Knowledge travels. And I look at a coach, and then I'm thinking to myself, I said, there's a part of me that would say, coach, I don't want anybody's job. If I wanted your motherfucking job, I'd have applied for it and get it. Okay. So that's okay. And that's not to all of them. Most of them are good. I get it. But it goes back to this Murray, the JJ McCarthy development to Anthony Richardson of what are we doing? We are so results oriented that you don't get the results you want. And then you got to backtrack and say, well, why? Well, we weren't prepared mentally. My quarterback didn't know where he was supposed to throw the ball or make a decision. And sometimes he still try to preach that throwing the ball into the stands is a really good play sometimes. And
Can I
guys
ask you
the
something,
hero
Sean,
ball.
before
Yeah,
I
and one
leave?
last thing. To these guys, it wasn't Michael Vick, it wasn't Randall Cunningham, it wasn't Brett Favre, the quarterback I'm talking about that said he was 5 years into his career before somebody taught him how to read coverage, because they didn't teach him in college either. Because and egos are a big part of this. There's no question about it. What were you going to ask, Matty?
Do you think that the transfer portal now and quarterbacks getting paid in college pretty substantially and staying longer, they're not going to come out? Like Anthony Richardson arguably should have stayed another 3 years and gotten paid and developed at Florida, right? But he left for first round money. Now
he
it's
would have
like
been a better athlete. He may not have been
24, 25, right? Do you think that's going to help, or is it like the rest of the positions on the field? We're trying to get you as young as possible to exploit the prime, because quarterbacks' primes can be 20 years now these days. They don't get touched.
No doubt. And I know that, like I said, I have no problem if a guy like Jaden Daniels waltzes into Washington and kicks everybody's ass and starts as a rookie because he can handle it. That's not usually the success he or Stroud had. Look at Elway, Aikman. They got their brains beat, and they didn't have that kind of successes. Right. Marino had great success as a rookie, but
second year he made the Super Bowl.
Most mortals, I mean, that's mere mortals. It takes a minute, because the thing, even if you're playing at USC, where my practice field, we had a Hall of Famer at every position in the. I mean, fuck, you go up and down it from Chip Banks to you go up and down it. My practices were a lot harder as a freshman than that fucking game on Saturday. We're playing against far better players, trust me. And there were some good players around the country. Point is that the king of the knowledge is king and the rest of it. But you're 100% correct. I think we're at the point now we want to crowbar, and we look at a guy and we hear how good they are, and man, he put up big numbers. Numbers don't mean shit to me if they're not sustainable. And some of these college numbers aren't sustainable because the defensive end can outrun the running back. So we'll just stop there. That being said,
well, think about this too. Like sometimes 15 for 22 for 190 and a tut is the best quarterback you can do, that you can be that day for the program and the system we need.
Look at Aikman's numbers.
Sometimes 30 for 45 and 400 is. So
right. Whatever it takes. Can you win a low-scoring game when you're not playing well and the dog pissed on you and your girlfriend wants to date the other quarterback and the coach isn't talking to you? And when things are going good, which most of us can play pretty well when things are going good. But back to the age thing and experience. If I'm a coach, while I love having my hands on a guy when he not literally, I'm talking about when he's 21 and could develop him in the pros. You want to get a red shirt junior or red shirt sophomore, should I say? I get it. But there is nothing wrong. We got to get out of this stigma. If the guy's 23 or 24, he's a little too old to be a rookie. Then why are they good enough for the transfer portal, but they're not? That's the part I don't get. And now, I look at college teams. College teams are to the point now, I don't care that you were a five-star player as a freshman. That doesn't make a shit to me. That fifth-year guy that just transferred from Kansas State, Will Howard, he's going to give me a national championship. I'll develop you. Problem is, a lot of guys sprint from development, and after 2 years of not starting and waiting their opportunity, like an Arch Manning, they get out of the program and go somewhere else, and they're right back to square one. And then they've transferred 3 times. Now they're playing Division II, which isn't a bad thing. So I have zero issue with a quarterback saying, you know what, this NIL, I'm going to stay one more year. I could use development. Arch Manning, if Arch Manning wouldn't have played it down, Arch Manning's going to be a better player this year than he was last year. Why? Because the Mannings had a plan, and so does Arch Manning.
And he should probably stay because the Jets are going to have the first pick, and they're not.
There you go. So for me, it's what do you want? You want because the guy looks good in the uniform, or do you want production? And that's not saying that it's one or both, that it's just an experienced guy is the only one or a young guy. But eventually the lack of putting the game in your hands and allowing you to learn and go through adversity and study, and holding them accountable eventually costs a guy years and success in his career. I'll tell you one thing. I may have thrown some interceptions, but rarely is it going to be because of the mental side.